And the purpose of this for our church here is that we would learn and apply those same steps in our spiritual walk and in our spiritual life, because we want to go from January, what is it today, 5th of 2019 to last Sabbath in December. And during that period of time, I think it would be good if we saw some change and improvement in our spiritual life and in the other areas of our life. So this whole year is going to be based on those 3.5 years. We are going to look at the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and we are going to study also out of the Acts of the Apostles to get a whole picture of what happened to them. These were the guys that were fishermen. That was their job. And fishing business is not necessarily easy. And I just want to show you some slides about fishermen and what happens to people who go fishing. This is one of the things that can happen to you if you go fishing. And you go out there and you think everything's going to be okay. And you like that picture? You don't like that picture? Let's stay on that picture for a little bit longer for everybody to get used to it a little bit, because the worst is coming. No, I'm not. I'm not going to do that to you. My brother has a picture in his house in Florida, a big poster, and it's divided into a number of different pictures of the accidents that happen with a fishing hook. And over there, you can see some serious damage to nose and ears and your cheeks and your eyes, and my goodness, I did not want to show that to you. But that happens to fishermen. Now look at this. This also happens to people who go fishing. Sometimes you can have this wonderful brand new boat, $500,000, right? But you go out there into the ocean and the wind and the waves, and you step on it a little bit too fast because you had 2 6-packs of beer, and you think you can just do whatever you want to do, and you make a tight turn going too fast, and there you are, right? So the $500,000 boat, hope you had insurance. This is the life of people who go fishing. Now, we talk about 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, how was the life back then? You get up, you go to work, right? You catch fish, you sell fish, you get money, you put food on the table. But these are the things that you can deal with. You can have a brand new boat and find yourself in an accident. You can have an old boat like this one and find yourself in an accident. That's the life of a fisherman. In the ocean, there is also a lot of things that can find you in the ocean, right? You're swimming out there, you fall out of the boat. I read a story of a man who takes fishermen on the expedition down in Florida, and they catch these big, I forget what they catch, these big fish, and this guide, he was telling this story. He wrote this story in a local paper, and he said, here we are on the boat, and everybody's fishing, and he says, then I hear this distinct sound of a splash. And he says, I know this is not the splash of a bait hitting the water. He says, I didn't see what happened, but I knew that somebody jumped into that water. And they're catching all of these fish, big fish. And he says, what was this person thinking? With all of this fish and the blood and everything else, there is a ton of sharks everywhere, So this guy jumped into the water, and they had to pull him out. Now, sometimes on the funny side, you don't have to run into a shark, right? You can go fishing, and you can lose your pants. Now, fishing is not all bad. At the time of Jesus, the disciples, they did this work. It was a hard work. But they would take that fish to the market, and they would sell it. And this is actually the market in Oman, Jordan. And throughout the Middle East, you can see markets like this. In India, in Philippines, in Indonesia, in Africa, all around the world, you can go and you can find these fishing communities. And guys go out there at night, they risk their life, and then in the morning they bring it, they load it off, and they just throw it there on the sidewalk in the parking lot, and people come by and sell it. And that's how these guys put food on their tables for their families. The next slide is of a boat, and this boat is an example. This is in Israel. The picture was taken in Israel. It is an example of the type of a boat that Jesus' disciples would have used to go fishing. The simple wooden boat with a sail, and this is nothing fancy, but this was their tool of the trade. This is how they made their living. So the difference between them and us is not that big. We have a few more gadgets in our life. We have a GPS on our watch, and we have a GPS on our phone, and we can Google things, and so those things, we are different than them. But family problems, marriage problems, paycheck problems, boss problems, neighbor problems, kids problems, they remain the same throughout the centuries and millennium that human beings have existed on this planet. These guys, the point that I want to make to you today is these guys, they had a life. This was their life. Just like you and I, we have a life. I'm a pastor. You may be a student. You may be a teacher. You may be a nurse. You may be a truck driver. You may be a professor. You may be running your own business. We have our lives. We get up in the morning and we go to work. And come Friday, or at the end of the month, or every 2 weeks, you get your pay. And you have to deal with everything that's in your life. This is how these guys were, the same way like us. They were no different than us. Except for one morning, something happened to them. And this is where we pick up the story in Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 to 20. While walking by the Sea of Galilee, Jesus saw two brothers. By the way, did everybody get an outline? Yeah, if you didn't, raise your hand and Ramon will get you one. So, while walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. Just what we were talking about, right? They were fishermen. They were doing their job. And Jesus happens to walk by them on the beach that day, on the shore. He could have walked away, right? Jesus could have walked away. He could have gone on with his life. They could have gone on with their fishing and so on. But instead, Jesus did something. Jesus spoke to them and he said to them, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." And the Bible says at that moment, look at this next test, verse 20. Immediately, they left their nets and followed him. Now, Sarai, go back to the previous slide. I want you to look at that sentence there. And I want you to ask yourself, I'm going to ask you, what did Jesus offer to them here? What did he offer to them? Make them fishers of men? Change the world? Anybody else? I'm curious. Job? They're minding their own business, living their own life. Somebody comes along and says, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." You know what I think Jesus offered them there? All of those answers are correct, by the way. Ted? You got to have bait? Okay. He was offering them something that other men would be attracted to them spiritually. Okay? I hear you. This is all correct. Let me sum it up this way. I think Jesus was offering them a new vision. A new vision for what they could become. You go and you mind your own business and you live your own life. And then every once in a while, if you pay attention, God comes into your life and he offers you a new vision. And let me tell you why I think he offered them a new vision. Vision is a picture held in your mind's eye of the way things could or should be in the days ahead. That's what vision is. Let's put that on the screen. Sorry, that's a slide two away from that. There you go. Vision is a picture held in your mind's eye of the way things could or should be. So I think these guys, they were working, being married, raising kids, and all of a sudden Jesus comes in and says, I want you to follow me and be fishers of men. And all of a sudden in their mind's eye, they saw a picture of what could be. They saw a different picture. That's what vision is. Vision is when you look at your life, everything that's going on in your life, and then all of a sudden in your head you see a picture of what it should be. A picture of what it could be. It's not the same what it is, it's something different. You know, I look into the mirror and I think I could lose a few. Right? That's a vision. That's a picture of what it could be. You're looking at your life and you're thinking, well, maybe I could work on my temper. Maybe I could improve my marriage. Maybe I could be a little bit more compassionate with people. Right? This is what I could be. This is what it should be. So this is what vision is. Vision is a picture held in your mind's eye of the way things could or should be in the days ahead. Now listen to this. In suggesting that vision deals with that which is preferable, we are insinuating the vision entails change. So I don't want it to be like it is right now anymore. I prefer it to be this way, another way. But if you have a preference for something different, that implies you're going to need to change. You can't stay the same. If you have a vision to lose weight, no more, you know what I'm going to say, ice cream at night and what, tofu? Oh, I think tofu, I don't eat tofu. No more, yeah, I don't have to worry about that. I stay away from soy as much as I can. But, yeah, if you want to change, you got, you know, if you prefer something different, if you prefer a different car, you're going to have to save money to buy a different car. If you want to have better finances, it implies changing the way you manage your money. If you want to have a better relationship with your kids, it implies having to change how you relate to them and how much time you spend with them. If you want to have better grades, it implies changing your studying habits. And you can just go down the list of everything, but it suggests that, this means, the fact is, if you want something better, then that entails change. It means changing. Now look at this next point. Vision is never about maintaining the status quo. Vision is not about maintaining status quo. Jesus told them, I want you to be fishers of men. That meant something different than what they were doing. That meant changing their lifestyle. That meant leaving behind the work that they were doing and starting something brand new. That's what that meant. If you're just trying to maintain status quo, if you're just trying to protect your present situation, then you don't have the vision for your life. Then you're just basically surviving. You're basically just living. Vision concentrates on the future. It focuses on thinking ahead rather than on dwelling upon or seeking, I need you to hear this, or seeking, the word there is to replicate the past. The vision is not about going back into the past. And some people say, oh, I wish things were the way they were back, in the 60s when the ice cream was 5 cents a gallon and gasoline was 35 cents a gallon and whatever. No, things are changing. It's never going to be that way again. Never going to be that way again. Life is changing. The technology, the demographics, everything is changing. I read yesterday online that the biggest investors into the renewable energy, this is green energy, are the biggest oil corporations in the world. So we can talk about going back to the past and, living off of the firewood and hunting in the woods somewhere. It's not going to happen. The world is just changing completely. Future, your life, this year, January, now it's January, by the time of December, how are you going to change for the better? That's the question. Spiritually, and in all of the other areas of your life. If you're seeking to protect your present, or if you're seeking to go back into the past, then you don't have the vision for the future. I'm not saying past is bad. There are many good things that were in the past. We are going back into the past right now, 2,000 years ago, back into the past, to pull out the good lessons from the life of the disciples and Jesus to apply them into our life, right? So I'm not saying past is bad, but I'm saying you can't just live in the past. It's not even good to live just in the present and try to protect that either. Sometimes you have to look into the future. So that's what I want us to do as a church this year. I want us to look into the future. Step-by-step process. How do we improve? What do we change in our lives to become better people? To become disciples of Jesus. So 3 questions that I'm asking here are you trying to go back to the past? Some people, that's what they are always trying to do. They're always complaining about how it is now and how it used to be back then. These questions will reveal to you if you are somebody that can have vision or if you're somebody who is just stuck. Are you desperate to maintain the present? Some people just want to hold on to what they have right now. They don't want to lose it. Examples? People live in a horrible marriage. Oh, but I don't want to separate because this is still better than being alone. Okay. People go to a job every morning for years and years and years, and they hate the job. They hate their boss. They hate the fact that they're not being given a raise. They hate the fact that they're not being appreciated. They hate the fact that they never got the birthday card from their boss. They never got even as much as, hey, thank you, you're doing a good job. But they don't want to quit. They want to hold on to their job because they're afraid of change. They're afraid of what the future brings if they quit it. They are afraid of what is going to happen, so they hold on to the present. Some people become sick about this stuff. You've seen this stuff, these TV shows about hoarders, haven't you? And you go into that house, and from floor to ceiling, it's full of junk. And you ask these people, why are you holding on to that? And they go through the house, and they'll pick up this trash bag, plastic bag from King Soopers, And yeah, I'm saving this because when I was a little kid, my mom used to bring groceries in this same bag, and I'm holding on to that because I want to give it up. Gets to the point where we become mentally unstable because we want to hold on to the past memories, the past problems. What about the past hurts? I can't get rid of this because this person did this to me 30 years ago. And I know I should get rid of it, but by now I'm kind of used to coping with it. And I found ways to just rationalize it in my mind, but I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep that abuse here. I'm going to remember it. I'm going to save it. It's going to make me miserable, but I'm going to hold on to it. Holding on to the past can be just a horrible thing. Holding on to everything. Instead of, I really think this is a way for Satan to keep us from looking at the possibilities that God has for each one of us. Because we're just so focused on all of this. I'm not going to use a bad word in church, but you know what I mean. Are you desperate to maintain the present? Or, the last question is, are you courageous enough to set a new destination? And that takes courage. It takes courage to say, you know what? I'm going to spend $300 this year and join a health club because I want to be healthier. I'm going to buy a healthier food in my grocery store instead of all of this fast food garbage because I want to feel better. It takes courage because it implies change. It implies change on every level. You're taking a risk. You're taking a risk that you're actually going to be better. And maybe it's not a good thing to be better because when you were little, somebody kept telling you that you were no good. So you still are trying to please them, so you don't want to be better. You just, So it's taking a risk of disappointing that voice in your head that tells you that you shouldn't change. Just stay the same miserable old self that you are. You see, and Jesus, he comes to these guys and he says, follow me. And immediately they had a picture in their head. And I don't know if they knew everything that entails following Jesus, but I think the Holy Spirit came into their life and they knew that this was going to be different. This was going to be better. This was going to be a new course for their life, and they immediately left everything and just followed Jesus all the way. So do you and I, do we have the courage to set the new destination for this year? I put a few things here on this list. Your vision, my vision, your connection with God. What's your connection with God now like? Is it weak? Is it on and off? Is it strong? Is it vibrant? Do you trust God? Do you feel that God is going to be there for you in every circumstance? Do you feel that one way or another you're in His thoughts? Maybe He will intervene into your life for the better. Maybe He won't, but He still loves you. He is there for you. Do you have that level of faith? So if not, then why not all of us together over the next year, we work on our faith to strengthen it? Why not dedicate time and effort to spiritual growth in our life? So you can have a vision to have a stronger connection with God. You can have a vision for your life work. A lot of people have work, but they don't have the life work. You know what I mean? You go to work, but that's not your life. What about you developing a trait that God gave you? Maybe you have a trait of compassion that has been suppressed by all of the burdens of life. Maybe you have it in you in your spiritual genetic code. Maybe you have a trait of mercy that has not really been applied in your life because of the burdens and distractions of this life. Maybe you have the ability and the gift of encouragement. Maybe you are the guy or a girl that can listen and hear what people are saying. Not everybody can do that, but maybe you can. Maybe that needs to be your vision for your life work. How do I develop that special trait and characteristic and the gift that God gave just me to be a better person this year? Spiritually growing. Once you connect that, then you're not just going to work, you have your life's work. Because at your work and in your neighborhood and in your family, you can be that person that listens. You can be that person that encourages. You can be that person that shows mercy. You can be that person that turns the other cheek. You can be that person that witnesses and gives testimony about Jesus through your behavior. Because you have developed that one characteristic, or two, or three that God gave you, and that right now are not developed. What about your relationships? What's your goal? What's your vision for your relationships for this year? You can go two ways. You can disconnect, or you can try to fix. And how do you know which one is the right way to go? You may be in a relationship with somebody. It doesn't have to be a wife or a husband. It can be a neighbor. It can be a cousin. It can be a relative. It can be a friend. You can be in a very unhealthy relationship with somebody. Maybe it's abusive. Maybe it's physically abusive. Maybe it's passive-aggressive abusive. Who knows? Something that just drives you nuts and crazy over the years. Maybe it's time to cut it. The only way to know is to pray about it and ask God to show you. And if He shows you to cut it, to disconnect from that person, then disconnect. But it takes courage. If God shows you to work on it and fix it, and if He shows the same thing to the other person, and the two are willing, then yeah, fix it. But you have to have a goal. You have to have a vision. A vision to have a better... I met a father and son, friends of mine, not too long ago, and they were traveling across the United States, and the son said, me and my dad, we had a business relationship. They had a good business all of these years, and he says, we never bonded. We never spent time together. So they rented a car, and they went across the whole United States together. Spent times in motels together, went to attractions together, saw things together. If you want to have a relationship with somebody, you're going to need to plan it out. You're going to have vision for how. Vision is a picture in your mind's eye of how that's going to look. And it's got to look better and different than what it is now. That's a vision. So you can apply that to anything. Health and fitness, I don't even have to talk about it. Right? I started riding my bike back in December. My goodness, this holidays are killing me, man. I'm telling you, I hate holidays. I hate month of December more than any other month in the world. I really do, because, a piece of cake there and a piece of pot roast over there, and, pretty soon you're just... Now, if you don't know if you need to exercise or get in shape, I want to give you a test on how you can really know. You don't need to go to a doctor. You don't need to go to a club. Just do this. When you get up in the morning and when you have to put your socks on, how hard is that? Does it hurt? Do you need help with that? I'm getting there. I'm telling you. I'm to the point where, my goodness, I'm not flexible anymore, I need longer arms or shorter legs or something, This is just not working out anymore. So that's a good sign that you need to improve your health and fitness and flexibility and all of that stuff. And we know, we have the knowledge. We're not stupid. We have the knowledge. Everybody knows what you need to do to get better in this area of your life. But you need to have a vision. Same thing with your finances. How many credit cards are you going to owe on by the end of next year? How much are you going to be in over your head on the bills by December of 2019? How much? What's your vision for your financial state? Tim and Julie are going to lead out again in this financial seminar starting on the 24th. Ramsey's, one of the best seminars in the country. And we're going to do it right here in the church. The cost, your cost for that is $110. And I believe in that seminar so much that I'm offering, again, I talked to our treasurer, and we are offering again to anybody who finishes that seminar all the way to the end, we're going to pay half of it as a church. So it'll cost you $55 to come to one of the best seminars on finances that's in the whole country. $55 to invest into your future. You going to do it? How about talking about finances? Let me also say this. How about committing to give God what belongs to Him? Bible is clear. Tithes and offerings. How about committing to do that? And I'm going to say the same thing I said this morning. By the way, we have service at 8:45 for some of you who don't know that we do. And I'm going to say this, and Jim's going to hate me, but I got to say it. I'm not saying this because we need money at this church. Jim, I'm sorry. We don't. We don't need the money because, I don't know, the report that I saw was that you guys sent over $300,000 in 2018 of tithe money to the Rocky Mountain Conference to support the work of the Adventist Church. You guys supported this church so much that we were able to put in a new parking lot at the cost of $45,000 last year. I came to you and I asked you to help raise the money for the medical van. And before I knew it, $25,000, $30,000 came in. And we bought it. So I'm not telling you to pay tithe because we need the money. We don't, really. If you don't give any, personally, we're still going to be okay. This is not one of those churches where you go to and you get the bulletin and you open it up and the first thing that's staring you in the face is how much we are short on the budget this month. And everybody is talking, give, give, give. It's not one of those churches. We're never short on the budget. I can tell you that. Jim's been a treasurer now for how long? 12 years? I don't remember that any single month we have been short on the budget. So we don't put that in the bulletin that we are short on money. So I'm not telling you this. I just want to drive this really strongly. I'm not telling you this because we want your money. But do it because God is going to bless you. It's between you and God. You don't even have to do it in this church if you don't want to. But just do it because God is going to bless you. If you're not clear on that subject, go read the Malachi. Meet with me. Meet with Milos. We'll give you a lesson, a Bible study on how to do that. Why not make that a part of your vision for next year? I'm going to have great finances next year because one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to be faithful to God. Another thing, I'm going to learn how to manage my money. And the third thing, I'm not going to waste my money on all kinds of stuff that's out there. Simple. So these are the things, these are the visions that you can work on in your life. What can you change today? What can you change today? Can you see this? Can you devote a little more time to spiritual things today? Can you say, Lord, from now on I'm going to spend a little more time studying, reading, helping out those who are suffering and struggling? Can you do that? Can you improve your work habits? Get to work on time? Give your boss an honest day of work? Maybe he will then give you that raise. What about your relationships? Can you spend a few bucks and buy your wife some flowers? And that's needed right there. And the same thing for wives. Give them a little gift card from Home Depot. Come on now. He will be a happy man, right? If you want to do that, you got to work on it. You keep wondering why your kid don't want to talk to you? Well, go spend a little time with him. Take him fishing. Do something fun together. What's your vision? What can you do today? Who can you call today to improve your relationships? Can you start an exercise program? Of course you can if you want to. Right after potluck, you can go for a nice walk. If you want to. Half a mile. It doesn't have to be 10 miles. You can do it. There are a lot of things you can do right here, today, right now. You can plan out your finances for the year. How do you do this? I want to ask you a question on this. How do you get out of your comfort zone? 3 choices. Slowly, you kind of ease into it, into the change. You kind of ease into the vision, new vision. Analyze everything. Should I go with Jesus or should I not? If I go with him, am I going to get to eat fish? My life is going to change. I would suggest C. Immediately they left everything and followed him. If you want to make a change in your life, if you want to empower your vision, if you want to live your vision, cold turkey. You make a decision because you want to do it. You change the destination because you want to change that destination. You want to do it. Not Pastor Gordon, not some sermon, no. You do it for yourself, you do it for your family, you do it for God, and you do it because and only if God is putting that into your heart. Today. If he's doing that, then you do it. You change the destination. You set a new destination. What was their destination? The disciples. What was the destination that they had ahead of them when they decided to follow Jesus? When they immediately left their nets and their boats and their food and their fish markets, this was their destination. Next 3.5 years, they spent sleeping outside in the weather without a sleeping bag. That was their destination. They wandered for 3.5 years, wandered the countryside without a backpack, depending on the generosity of other people to provide for them. At the end of their life, they suffered. And this is a statue that somebody made, and I'm sorry I did not get the information on who did this, but it's supposed to symbolize suffering. They suffered at the end of their life. They were tortured, they were mistreated, they were abused, and they were killed. All 12, Judas killed himself, and all the other 11 disciples. The tradition tells us that they were murdered and killed, and their life was taken away from them in a violent way. This is what their destination was when they decided to follow Jesus. But they did it anyways. But in the process, what else did they do? They brought hope to millions. Jesus says, "Let the little children come to me," and these disciples sure did that. They brought hope to families. They healed people. They encouraged people. They listened to people. They told people about a better way. They brought humanity into this world of suffering and anger and hate and racism and prejudice and bigotry, same as it is today. We ask, how was it back then? Same like it is today. But this is what they did. And they took care of people. That's what Christianity is about. That's what Christianity is about. And this last picture illustrates the most important thing of all that happened to them. They connected with Jesus. They connected with the living God who took on the human form. That's what they did. They became intimate friends with Jesus. You know how intimate they became with Jesus? They could recognize when Jesus was snoring at night. That's how good friends they were with Jesus. They knew how he walked. They knew when his back hurt. They knew when he was troubled by temptations, by Satan, by opposition. They knew how Jesus breathed. They could feel his lungs, heart. They knew everything about him because they were 3.5 years in the University of Jesus. And by the time they were done, they were not the same people. They were different people. And this is what I want us to do, folks, this year. By the time they were done, they developed one of the most important characteristics that the Christian person can have, and that's faithfulness. They became faithful. When you have faith in God, what happens when you have faith? You become calm. They were not scared anymore. You remember last week we preached about the disciples in the storm? What happened when Jesus walked on the water? What happened? They were scared. They were afraid of that storm. They were afraid of those waves. After they were done with the University of Jesus, they went through shipwrecks. They went through drownings. They were not scared anymore. They were calm. Nothing scared them anymore. They were calm because they had faith in Jesus. They were patient when they were done with Jesus, or I should say when he was done with them. They were not in a hurry anymore. They were patient with other people. They were patient with each other. They were compassionate. They were different people. Folks, I'm asking you and inviting you, each one of us, to think about the vision that you want to have for your life in this year. How do you want 2019 to end? What kind of a person are you going to be by the time it's over? In your spiritual life and in all of these other areas of life that we just talked about. I want in this church, I want us to be empowered to follow God. I want us to be empowered to serve others, human beings. And I want God to give us the power to change. That's what I want this church to be. A place where we receive the power from the Holy Spirit to live a different life, a new life.